Hi everyone, so what we're going to take a look at today is a simple FMOD file which uses one parameter to change the tension level of the music. It does that by mixing tracks in layers, and then at a certain point here I've got it planned so that when the tension parameter reaches about 0.6 or so, the playhead actually jumps to a new section with a change of key and some extra tracks which are faded in. So let me play this and we'll listen, see what happens, and then we'll build it up from scratch. Okay, so now we're just going to play, it's just going to loop around this section here. I'll start pushing up the tension parameter. Okay, and you can hear the layers coming in. Gets up to 0.6, and one of the bar lines, it will jump to the new section. Got some extra tracks coming in. That's all done. Okay, let's see how this sort of mechanism in FMOD is set up. To make this as clear as possible, what I'll do is I'll start a new event. We start an event by right-clicking over here in the left-hand panel, new event. It's a new 2D event, and I'll call this tension example. And as you can see, when we create an event, it automatically gives us one audio track. So let me right click in the audio track and add another one. And I'm going to label them while I'm here, do the right thing. And this is going to be an electric piano. And this is going to be a sort of bell sound, which were the first two layers of my tension music example. So what we've got to do now is get some WAV files into FMOD. You can do that by dragging them directly from the Finder, or from your operating system, or as I have done here, because I previously worked on this event, I have them all in the FMOD audio bin, which we can display with Command 3. Click on that and drag it to the timeline here, and bell low here. Let's drag that in here. So let's see how that works. It'll just play once and that's that. Obviously we want this to loop. So first thing to do is I'm going to click up here, right click in this wave here and create a new loop region. This blue bar here shows the loop region, and now the playhead will just loop inside of this loop region. Okay, so we said we wanted a parameter to sort of remix these tracks, and I'm just going to work on these two for the moment so we can keep it simple. Okay, we add a parameter by going up to the top of the timeline here, and in the tab next to it where it says plus, click on that and select add parameter. So these are previous parameters that I made, so we can ignore those. I'll start a new one, a new parameter, and I'll call it, let's call it intensity. It really doesn't matter what you call it as long as you recognize it. And it was a value from 0 to 1. So there is our intensity. At the moment it's doing nothing, but what we're going to do is we're going to allow intensity to control the volume of each track. We do that by creating an automation lane on the intensity tab. So I'm going to right click on the volume control and select add automation. I'll do that for both tracks, add automation. Now what I'm going to do is take the bell track and just make a breakpoint in there and drag that down to silence, and then at around about 0.2, well, let's 0.2, 0.3, I'm going to add another breakpoint, and I'm going to drag that up to about -6 dB, something like that. And now, when we play our loop, and here is the loop, remember, the loop isn't on the intensity track, it's just on the timeline. But what we're going to see here is as I turn the intensity knob, the volume of the bells is going up. Until it's where we want it to be. So that's how you use the parameter to control and remix the levels of these tracks. Attention music is a little more complex than that because it uses another mechanism. When we get to a certain level of intensity, and here on my original parameter it was 0.6, the playhead actually jumped from this region to this region. So we need to set that up. So let's go back to our example event. Let's think about making another set of events that we're going to transition to. I'm going to call up the audio bin, and I'm going to add my classic electric piano high, which is I think I got put a little key change in there. I'll just push it up the end there, and the bells high, like that. Let's put that away, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, or zoom out rather, so as I can see what I'm doing here. I'll just click the playhead there and then snap that to it. It doesn't matter where it is, because at a certain point the playhead is going to jump to the start of this loop. If I just play that, okay, you can see how it sounds a little different. So how do we make the playhead jump out of this loop to this loop at a certain point in the parameter? And that's what we're looking for. Well, first of all, let's create a loop around this region. Select that event, create a new loop region. Now we need to know where the start point of these files are. So to do that, we add markers. So let's add a destination marker. This is mark A. You just drag it down to create a new row there. Over here, I'm going to right click, add destination marker B. Okay, now the interesting thing, I'm going to add a transition region to marker B. And this is going to sit in this whole first loop. And over here, I'm going to add a transition region to marker A, and that's going to sit in this whole loop. Next, what we want to do is add some conditions to these transition regions. So let's start with marker B. I'm going to click on marker B, expand the deck at the bottom of the page here. And as you can see in this box, and this is just when I select this, click it once, select this, it says add a condition. Okay, I'm going to add a condition. It's a parameter condition. The parameter that I'm interested in is intensity. So I'll select intensity, and I'm going to say when intensity is above 0.6 or 0.6 and above. Okay, so that's what's selected, 0.6 to 1. It's going to go to marker B, because this is a transition region to go to marker B. I'm going to click once on this transition region, add a condition. It's a parameter condition. It's the same parameter, but this time when it is below 0.6, like that, so take it carefully up to 0.59, it's going to go to marker A. So we've got our two conditions set. Let's see if that happens. Let's go back to the beginning by double-clicking the stop button. Start playing. I'm going to push the intensity up. The first thing that happens is the bell fades in. And when I get to 0.6, okay, there we go. It's jumped to this section. Okay, let's stop that. Now, you notice that as soon as the parameter got to 0.6, it jumped. we may want to restrict the points at which the playhead can jump out to marker B. We would want to perhaps quantize it so that it leaves this on the beat, and that way we don't lose the rhythm. However, in order to do that, FMOD needs to know where the beat is. These are WAV files, they're not MIDI files, so they don't carry tempo information in this case. So we're going to have to put a little marker in here, which is the tempo marker. And this is going to supply information about the beats per minute, which I happen to know is 148. When I made these files in Logic, I remembered the beat, and it's very important to be able to go backwards and forwards quickly to your DAW so you can, change files, polish them up, check what the BPM is, and so on. Okay, we need another one in here, tempo marker, and that's going to be 148 as well. Now, let's look at our transition and select a quantization interval. So when do we want the player to jump out? Well, I think we'd like it to jump out, maybe allow it to jump out at every measure. And the same for this one. I'll allow it to jump out at every measure. So let's try again. That keeps the rhythm nicely intact. So you can decide based on your music when it's appropriate for the playhead to jump out at what point. Be careful with transition regions. If you double click on a transition regions, it opens up this space here. This is a special transition space which will play audio files in this space before the playhead arrives at the new destination. Just happens once, and then it will loop around the new destination. But even if you've got nothing in here, the playhead will pass through this section. So if you've double clicked these by mistake, you will have opened up a transition region, and it's going to create a pause between one loop region and the other. You need to eliminate that. So if you've done this and you've got this green area here, simply take the cursor, the mouse right to the top, and drag it left. Close it like a pair of curtains and then let go. Now that new transition region has disappeared, and we will get a direct leap from this region to this region. Jump out at what point? Okay, so now what we need to do is iterate and polish our whole event here. We need to remember that when we're adjusting our remix of the tracks, that we are moving from the first section to the second section at this point here, at point 6. So if you want the same music to play, you don't want to have too much of a jump in volume here. But what you can do is fade in new tracks, of course. So let's show you how that's done. I'm just going to click in any audio track here, right click, add audio track. You can't see it very well, but there it is. And now I'm going to add the guitar in here. Okay, now I'm going to go to my intensity line on this track, which was the guitar track, and I can relabel it, of course. I'm going to right click on the volume knob and add automation. And I know that right up to point 6 it doesn't matter because it's not being played. And then at some time after point 6 I'm going to create another breakpoint, and at that then another breakpoint at the very end of the parameter value, which is 1. So now when the playhead, when the intensity parameter is pushed up to around about 0.8, the guitar will start to fade in. So let's have a listen to that. We can watch the timeline. First thing that's going to happen is it's going to jump. actually wanted that to come in a little bit earlier, so to adjust that, that's very easy. I can just pull this breakpoint back for the guitar and maybe change the curve a little bit. So by massaging these automation lanes, you can gradually get a really nice smooth move from this section to this section, which includes a jump and adding in extra tracks. It takes a little practice and a little finessing, but that is the basic mechanics. Extra tracks coming in.